Superman's cousin is coming in hot in the next cinematic chapter of the DCU. Time for you all to get formally introduced to the Kryptonian wild child herself, Kal-El. Look out because the review for Supergirl is flying your way right now. Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Porter Report. My name is BJ Porter, and I hope everybody is having an amazing day today. For all of my returning viewers, it is wonderful to see you all again, and for all my first timers out there, welcome, and we hope you enjoy everything that this video and channel has to offer. Month 1 of the summer movie season has been absolutely insane in almost every sense of the word, but we still have one more film to cover before we transition into month 2. That very movie is the subject of today's Porter Report movie review. This segment allows me to express my thoughts and opinions about the movies that I see and enjoy, and those of you do as well. We are still in the very early stages of James Gunn's DCU. We've been introduced to creatures who are commandos, ego-driven geniuses, and we're set to get introduced to a couple of Green Lanterns later this year. But today's movie has us getting introduced to a character who is faster than a speeding bullet, can leap tall buildings in a single bound, and I'm sorry, we're not actually talking about him. I'm actually talking about the other one. You know, the one that has the same powers but has unresolved trauma and a dog? Yep, there she is, that's the one. She may be a bit much, but she's actually quite the firecracker once you get to know her. Today, I'm giving you guys the official review for DC Studios' Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie and starring Matthias Schoenaerts, David Krumholtz, Jason Momoa, newcomer Eve Ridley, and as our titular heroine Kal-El, Millie Alcock. DC has no shortage of female heroes and femme fatales throughout its vast roster. Most fans are familiar with the icon herself, Wonder Woman, as well as other characters such as Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Batgirl. But the hero that doesn't seem to get as much attention and love is Supergirl. Debuting in 1959, Kal-El was seen by a lot of people as the quote-unquote female Superman. With her displaying some of the same powers and abilities, there was very little to differentiate her from her Kryptonian counterpart, Clark Kent. But as the years went on, various writers and artists started to truly reinvent the character in a way that truly separated her from her cousin. With a backstory that is different from that of Kal-El, Kara has gone from just being a female clone of Superman to her own unique character within the DC universe. Recent years have shown, however, that the character's evolution is starting to be taken to the next level. In addition to a highly celebrated TV show on the CW, as well as becoming a rising fan favorite in the Toonami animated series, one of the most significant pieces of Supergirl storytelling comes courtesy of a comic book series from legendary writer Tom King. Titled Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the comic truly revolutionized the character in a way that hadn't been done since her inception. Billed as a swashbuckling intergalactic space opera, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is not just regarded as one of the best Supergirl comics of all time, but arguably one of the most beloved pieces of DC storytelling ever written. The comic has garnered a strong collection of fans since its publishing. One such fan just so happens to be one of the co-leads at DC Studios. James Gunn has talked ad nauseum about how much he absolutely adores Woman of Tomorrow. He loved it so much that when he was given the keys to DC's cinematic portfolio, he authorized that one of the movies in Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, be a loose adaptation of the Tom King comic book. He recruited acclaimed director Craig Gillespie, who did I, Tonya and Cruella, to lead the film behind the camera, whose style of filmmaking could fit the tone and aesthetic that Gunn was looking for. But the most important piece of the puzzle was who was going to be playing Kara herself. The search for the film's leading lady was pretty extensive, but Gunn did get a little bit of help, thanks to an HBO show set in Westeros. Fresh off of her star-making performance in House of the Dragon, Australian actress Millie Alcock was chosen to don the cape, skirt, and boots. And after a surprise cameo in last year's Superman, the stage was set for her to take the spotlight in her very own standalone film. With such rich source material to pull from and a bevy of talent in front of and behind the camera, can the other member of the House of El continue the momentum set by DCU's opening cinematic chapter? Well, we're not going to find out by sitting here, so grab your headphones, sunglasses, and a stiff drink, because we are about to go on the wildest ride this side of the green, yellow, or red sun. Here's the Porter Report movie review for DC Studios' Supergirl. No matter the type of upbringing we had or social status that we hold, we are all defined by the moments that shape us. For Kal-El, he was defined by his relationship with his mother and father, which shaped his desire to be a symbol of hope for those he wished to protect. As the hero known as Superman, he strives to be the ultimate representation of truth and justice across every corner of the planet. All that said, he does wish that another member of his family on his Kryptonian side shared his viewpoint. Despite sharing the same powers as her cousin due to them being from the same bloodline, Kal-El is the complete opposite of her blood relative. Having witnessed the destruction of her homeworld as well as the death of her family firsthand, Kara is weighed down by trauma and grief in a way that her golden boy next of kin would never understand. Despite Clark's pleas for her to take up the mantle and join the hero business, Kara is more content with drinking away her problems and partying on other planets alongside her furry companion Crypto, who she adopted when she was young before Krypton's destruction. But as always, fate has a cruel way of forcing your hand. A young sword wielder named Ruthie Null arrives on Kara's doorstep asking for her assistance in tracking down the whereabouts of the vicious warmonger Krim of the Yellow Hills, who was responsible for the brutal murder of her family. Initially dismissive of the young girl's request, things get a whole lot more personal for Kara when Krim himself mortally wounds Crypto with a lethal poison weapon, giving him only 3 days to live before he succumbs to his injuries. Now pulled into a galaxy-spanning revenge quest that will pit her and Ruthie against a collection of violent space pirates and a few other notorious criminals and bounty hunters, Kara will be forced to confront the uncomfortable scars that she has long tried to bury and step into the calling that she has long tried to avoid as she races against the clock to save the last piece of home she has left. James Gunn's DCU returns to the big screen in the second theatrical entry in the Gods and Monsters chapter of the interconnected heroverse. Loosely based on the acclaimed 2021 comic from Tom King, Supergirl gives Kal-El the long-awaited large-scale spotlight in one of the summer's biggest hero flicks. After traversing the galaxy with the Woman of Tomorrow, Supergirl makes the official DCU arrival of Kal-El a thrilling and thoroughly enjoyable ride right from the opening frame. The DC Universe's cinematic rebirth is still very much in its early stages. After a solid cinematic opening in last year's Superman, fans were eager to see how the rest of the universe would expand and grow in the years and projects that followed. One of those projects was a Supergirl-centric film that took inspiration from one of the character's most celebrated comic runs. Though this isn't the first time Kal-El has been portrayed on screen, this is the first time she has been showcased on this scale. What transpires is an action-packed, fast-paced intergalactic romp brimming with adrenaline and energy, yet also filled with deeply effective and profound character work with an emotionally hard-hitting edge. The movie has a lot going for it, with most of the credit going to the cast and the work they put in on screen. If we are giving out gold stars for performances, it should be obvious who gets first dibs. I am truly in awe of what Millie Alcock brought to the role of Kara in this film. It is not easy to play a character that has so many things going on internally, but Alcock takes the challenge and rises to meet it. Her ability to deliver Kara's dry, sarcastic humor while also bringing out her deep-seated vulnerability is truly amazing to see, as she portrays a character who is wonderfully multifaceted and layered. These are the type of characters that truly elevate a film, and it was awesome to see on display here. Alcock was truly special as our leading lady, leading the movie with charisma and tons of nuance, and I can't wait to see where she goes next in her development. Moving on to our secondary leading lady, this may have been newcomer Eve Ridley's first major movie role, but you wouldn't be able to tell after seeing this performance. Ridley displays a strong sense of headstrongness, emotional rawness, and recklessness that blend together to make her just as engaging as Kara. Her chemistry with her is top tier, as the lone wolf and cub dynamic makes for some very fun and also heartfelt and emotional moments that truly flesh out both characters. Ridley was truly wonderful in the role, as her cinematic introduction leaves a strong impression. Great praise should also go to Matthias Schoenaerts as Krim of the Yellow Hills, whose ruthlessness and cold-blooded brutality make every scene he encompasses one that puts you on edge, unsure if his next move will be the last one that you see. It is one note at times, but it is played in a way that more than serves the story. The characters bring life to the story and truly make all the moments on screen more meaningful as well as lively. Some of them bring an energy and a viscerality to the film that undeniably elevates it to another level. Nobody seemed to have understood or excelled at that assignment more than Jason Momoa in his role as Lobo. When I tell you that this man had the absolute time of his life playing a role that he has constantly said was a dream of his, I am saying that with full confidence after watching this performance. Momoa brings all of the hard-edged aura and chaotic energy of this iconic character to the forefront, stealing every single scene he is in with relative ease. From his look, his voice, and the devilishly delirious sense of full-tilt, unhinged mayhem he brings to every scene, Momoa takes full advantage of being given the keys to the cigar-chewing bounty hunter and gets full marks for one of the most fun performances I've seen in the early stages of the DCU. Among the many things that this movie has going for it from the opening frame, the thing that I believe is the film's biggest strength is the effective structure of its story. If you have an understanding of the basic structure of the hero's journey model, the film, for all its flash and awe, does deliver in bringing a strong sense of simplicity to its storytelling. The movie sets up its stakes well and also makes the motivations of the characters clear. You understand what is driving them and what they could potentially gain or lose if they continue down a certain path. Sure, it is easy to predict the outcome for those who have read the comic this film took its inspiration from, but for those not in the know, it creates a strong investment in the story and what the characters experience within it. That is also another one of the things that makes Supergirl such a great experience. As I have mentioned in the past, the characters and the people bringing them to life are the make or break of any movie. If you do not have a strong investment in the characters
characters, every other cog in the cinematic machine falters, resulting in an experience not worth the price of admission. Kara's arc of truly facing and overcoming her grief and sense of loss is one of the main elements that makes her more than just a drunken party girl with Superman's powers. There are so many more layers to her that make her more complex and nuanced. Through her arc and that of Ridley's Ruthie, there are a ton of themes explored, like how to deal with loss, the consuming grip of vengeance, and navigating how to move forward when grief is consuming you or clouding your judgment. The movie explores these thematic elements through the characters, and it is truly what makes a film like this more than just a loud summer action romp. That said, it's not like I'm complaining about that being the case, for that is a huge contributing factor to my enjoyment of the movie. The movie is filled to the brim with wall-to-wall action with set pieces that are fast-paced and chaotic in a way that brings a different type of energy than last year's Superman. From the cinematography, the stellar production design, and its overall tone, the world displayed in Supergirl clearly has a darker grit to it, yet it is still one that you enjoy being in. While the fast-paced nature of the film is an element that is an advantage that the film has, it can be seen as a bit of a hindrance, especially when it comes to narrative pacing. The movie moves at a rate where there were times that I really wish that things would slow down a bit. It isn't a deal breaker by any means, but I would have loved to have sat with scenes a little more to give us some time to breathe before moving on. Stretching out the film could offer more opportunities to further flesh out the story instead of condensing a ton of it to keep it under 2 hours. As much as I appreciate keeping things tight, having that balance of expansion and making the most of the extra room is something that really could have made this movie even more of a thrill than it already was. Overall, Supergirl is a fun and an emotionally strong roller coaster ride with tons to offer. While the breakneck pace is a double-edged sword, it has charm, personality, and interesting fleshed out characters carrying the load in a way that makes the trip so worth it. We now have a character within this universe that is a refreshing layer cake of nuance that I am hoping is a sign of things to come as more start appearing in the remaining projects of this chapter of the DCU and beyond. As this heroverse continues to find its footing in the early outset, the thrilling cinematic interpretation of the cousin of Kal-El is a ray of sunshine shining brightly amongst the stars.
Every franchise is going to have its growing pains during its expansion period in the early stages. Not every project is going to land with people because not everybody is looking for the same thing or seeing the same thing the way others do. In the case of the DCU, the cinematic portion is still very much in its infancy. The era literally started a year ago and there is still so much to introduce and expand on. Superman brought us into this new interpretation of the universe, and now Kara is picking up the baton and showing us the worlds beyond. And I have to say, from where I'm sitting, the ride was a thrill from start to finish. DC Studios' Supergirl may have its flaws, but I would be lying if I didn't say that this wasn't an absolute blast of a flick. One that has incredibly fast-paced action, all within a story that is simplistic yet emotionally rich with strong characters. For those who are not familiar with the character of Kal-El, the best thing I think this movie did was give us a clear distinction between her and her cousin. While these two characters share the same blood and power set, the movie makes it clear that they are on two completely separate wavelengths. Kara may figuratively be made of steel, but trust and believe that under the surface is a broken individual constantly crying for the bleeding to stop. Behind every dry and sarcastic comment is a woman that is consumed by grief and suffocating under the weight of losing a home that she watched crumble and fall before her very eyes. While Clark is somebody who is overly optimistic with a positive outlook on the future, Kara has understandably a more jaded mindset who can't really embrace the future because she is constantly chained by the trauma and scars of her past. It isn't until she's able to break free of those chains that she's able to step into a role that was always hers to take, despite her never thinking she was worthy of it. These are the type of layered and nuanced characters that truly make a film worth watching, in addition to all the fireworks that occur. If this is the blueprint for every character that could potentially come into the DCU, this universe could truly become something special in every facet of the imagination. I know it's still relatively early, but after watching these two films, I'm pretty convinced that we are on the right track. In the end, Supergirl delivers in ways that you expect from a summer blockbuster, but also delivers a powerful message about overcoming loss and stepping into a bigger purpose, and becoming better and stronger in spite of what you've gone through. Its characters are engaging, the action is fast-paced, the emotional nuance is rock solid, and the world that it puts on display is full of life and personality. Between these two films, I am just overjoyed that there are so many characters that I can't wait to see grow and develop, not just in the Gods and Monsters chapter, but all the other chapters that follow. This also goes for the characters that we haven't even seen yet. It's an exciting period of growth that anybody who is a fan of this franchise should be excited to see evolve in the coming years. But with all that said, I now want to kick it over to you guys. Sound off in the comments below your thoughts about DC Studios' Supergirl, but be mindful of anything that could potentially be seen as a spoiler. And for the love of Krypton, please, please, please keep it respectful and classy down there. I am fully aware of the conversations that are surrounding this movie. While there are some takes that I absolutely agree with, There are some discussions that really have no place on this platform, and more specifically my channel. Be open about your feelings, but make sure to not showcase the worst version of yourself. Starting off the cinematic portion of the DCU with the Super family is a bold move, but I'm very excited about what the son and daughter of Krypton will get into next. And based on what I've heard, their next adventure is shaping up to be a real brain buster, if you catch my drift. Make sure to keep it locked to the channel for more videos and reviews throughout the remainder of summer movie season 2026 and beyond. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend to stop on by. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day, and until the next review, I'm BJ Porter, and this has been the Porter Report.